Hey guys, so in this video, we're going to be kind of going over a thing called what I like to call unit analysis. Now, there are some units in the index, in, well, 8th edition in general, that have kind of not been a fan favorite. You kind of note, like, over time, you kind of got, like, basically when the index came out, a lot of people were very excited, and then people started slowly realizing, okay, there are some things in this codex, or index, that is not what we expect, and we hope that GW kind of makes them a little better in the codex release. Now I have my little codex, and I have my little index here, and the thing is, and one of the things I'm kind of talking about is Logan Grimnar, Thunderwolf Cavalry, and Wulfen. Now we're gonna go for a little thing where, back in 7th edition, we're gonna kind of look at take a trip back to the past, where in 7th edition we were seeing a lot of things that were going wrong with a number of stuff, and of things like, well, I'll get into it in a little bit later, but you saw a lot of use in them back in the last edition, and a few editions before, and the other editions before, and you were noted, and now they're a lot different with rules changes and the whole system having changed. And sometimes I feel that there were things that have been toned down, but not toned down to the point in where they were where they are too weak, or because back, like, all right, let's say for instance, Thunderwolf Cavalry. Thunderwolf Cavalry was the epitome of most lists in 6th edition, 7th edition, and even in 5th edition, because people didn't know how to deal with them, apparently. Because I never all completely played 5th edition. I was like at the tail end of 5th edition when I started 40k. But a lot of people that I knew in my tabletop gaming club at my college, they kind of got in. They were like, they knew that a lot when it came to facing Space Wolves, they didn't have a lot of effect against Thunderwolf Cavalry. But so far, let's start this off with the first guy, which is Logan Grimnar on Storm Rider. Now, the thing is that Logan Grimnar got some major updates, because let's look back at the 7th edition Codex release. He basically, Storm Rider was a vehicle. He was mounted on a vehicle, and it was his chariot. It had armor values. It had 3 hull points, and it also had a 4+ invul save. But one of the major buffs that Storm Rider had for Logan was that it reduced penetrating hits down to glancing hits. Now, an interesting thing I've been wanting to think about is that, well, let's take a look at the first at Grimnar's current rules stats now for his Storm Rider. Let's see. One of the major changes is that for his thing, his movement is 10 inches when he's at full health. His toughness is a 6, and he has 12 wounds. The 12 wounds is kind of the 12 wounds is kind of an interesting thing right there, because like 3 well placed and well strengthed las cannons can finish him off, and because he's over 10 wounds, he can be targeted by anyone else. He has a 4+ invul save, but he doesn't get a lot of protection from mortal wounds, unless you have that warlord trait that allows you, that basically, okay, I get a 5+ feel no pain. But I would think, if he's on storm, because it's like it says that, like, I remember in the lore, Grimnar, Storm Rider, was able to shrug off the tank destroyer weapons, and I would think that, why not build up? All right, okay, so if Grimnar's on Storm Rider, his 4+ invul save becomes a 3+, or he can re-roll, or the special wards on his or the special protective wards on his chariot allows him to re-roll his saving throws, meaning he can re-roll his armor save or his invul saves. And a toughness 6, I think that I don't think that's gonna really cut it, because you see, maybe it will cut it because it's a chariot, but it just shows that he doesn't have a lot of protection, and back in 7th edition, you were seeing a lot of people play him, but the problem was he was a beat stick mostly. During 7th edition play, you notice he was a beat stick. He didn't have a lot of command abilities until Curse of the Wulfen, where he had his special formation. But with that special formation, he really didn't have much of a strength when commanding his units. Now he does have a bit of a command ability, but he's not as strong as he should be. But he's not as protected as he should be, especially when he's going to be going up against things that could destroy him in a single turn. He doesn't have. He's a character, and he's over 10 wounds. So what are you gonna do? So it's possible that when the codex comes out, they can change that ruling where he becomes rerollable. He can reroll his saving throws, or his 4+ is boosted up to a 3+. It's possible for him, especially for him being a chapter master and getting a very expensive. He's a very hefty point sink right there. But all right, so now we're going into the Thunderwolf cavalry here. Now let me see here. Thunderwolf cavalry. Oh, that's not it. I keep forgetting. Thunderwolf cavalry is not in the elites. They are in the. Here we go. Now, a lot of people. Now, I've recently been seeing a lot of chatter about Thunderwolf cavalry, for one thing, and how a lot of people, they mostly liked the Space Wolves because of the Thunderwolf cavalry and the Wulfen. All right, Thunderwolf cavalry was actually like. All right, let's start with a little history lesson here. Back in the early days of 7th edition, in 2014, Space Wolves came out with the Space Wolves Codex came out, and it had the Champions of Fenris supplement. Now, the Champions of Fenris supplement had a special detachment, a special force organization chart. What it did was, okay, you could take an HQ and 2 elite choices. Players caught on it very quickly. It resulted in them having to. It was basically, you could load it up with 2 Iron Priests on Thunderwolves, and then fill out your fast attack slots with Thunderwolf cavalry. This basically created lists that were so broken that most players did not want to. Was finding out players did not want to play Space Wolves, and or Thunderwolf cavalry in general, or they didn't want to fight, or they didn't want to play against a player who had Space Wolves. So you kind of had this whole dark area or a gray area, really. Like, okay, you could have this and have that. One of the interesting things I've noticed, though, is that when it comes to Thunderwolf Cavalry, now, in 8th edition, they're toned down. They are not overpowered. They have players have to learn how to play the game without it being a one-trick pony. As one of my friends says, because he says you have to know how to build a list. You have to properly build a list, because you had strength 10. You had Thunderwolf Cavalry, strength 10 weapons going at it. Excuse me. This chair's been my nightmare for quite a while, but it's okay. But you had Thunderwolf Cavalry who were nightmares back in. And also, one of the worst things for Thunderwolf Cavalry was that you had what were they? It was the Librarius Conclave. The Librarius Conclave for the Space Marines, for the vanilla Space Marines. It resulted in them getting, you could make them invisible, meaning that your opponent would have to hit them on a 6+. Blast weapons could not touch them. So it really turned into a very, very horrible thing. You could also, and one of the major things that Games Workshop, it was a fun thing, I give it to you, but formations were a bloated system where the latest rules won. There were few formations that stuck, that they held on after their release. The Wulfen Murder Pack, that a lot of Space Wolf players played that, because what it did was 2 to 3 Wulfen in this formation. Oh, I can get on a roll of a 7+. I get a free movement. So my Thunderwolves get a free movement. That was not. It was good, but it was a little too much. Wulfen actually got some, and I'm glad that they toned. And this is the thing, with Thunderwolves, I'm glad they toned it down. I hope they haven't toned it down too much, because I'm hearing a lot of players are not getting what they... they're not... they want Thunderwolves to be the dominating force of the game again, so that they can play entire Thunderwolf Cavalry lists. But because of certain things, Thunderwolf Cavalry are not as... an entire Thunderwolf Cavalry list is not as strong as it used to be anymore. And I'm actually glad, because I got sick and tired of watching... battle reports on I'm watching I actually every time I clicked on it and I saw the player list, and I saw it's nothing but Thunderwolf Cavalry, so I just basically, nope, I'm not gonna watch it. I basically already know what it's gonna end, until I did see that one battle. I think it was Tabletop Tactics that I watched it on. It was an entire Thunderwolf Cavalry force against Tau, and I actually was happy that the guy with the Space Wolves lost, because you can't always use Thunderwolf Cavalry to take out a problem. And it's very not thematic, because usually isn't it the Thunderwolves supposed to be this echelon, this special echelon of the Wolf Guard who, like, okay, I'm going to go out, I'm going to hunt a thunder wolf, and I'm going to bring it back, and I'm going to tame it, and I'm gonna ride it into battle. Usually something like that. Okay, this is like a special group of warriors that you don't. That's like, okay, maybe there are not a lot of these guys. They're not maybe a vast number, because it's like, oh, because it's like, I know Harald Deathwolf has a lot of them, but I wouldn't think like, okay, he's got a like an entire army of them. But let's see. Uh, let's see. You have, and now we go on to the Wulfen. Wulfen got amazing because Wulfen are actually still pretty good. I like their strategy. It's not like you with Wulfen, they have some very good abilities right here. I mean, it's not like in seventh edition where they had that list where you could, okay, I could get kind of or a lot of, oh, cool, and you have an interesting thing here with this with Wulfen. Okay, I like their death frenzy. It's their 5 up, feel no pain, and also it's a 5 up, feel no pain, and also it's when they die they can attack again, which is great. And I like their hunt and kill abilities. It's like no more hunt and kill table. Uh, Bounding lope. They can run and they can advance and charge. That's an amazing thing. And their storm frag auto launchers, they hit on sixes if you advance, but you're likely not going to be using that a lot. Because back then in seventh edition, the storm frag auto launcher was basically, okay, if they charge, they get to swing first, because like they get to strike at initiative if they charged, because they didn't have what was it called? It was frag grenades, because frag grenades allowed models to charge their opponent through cover. They had a lot of strength. They have a lot of strength. They were overpowered. In a way, they were overpowered in seventh edition, because especially with the Wulfen Murder Pack, because you had the Orgy of Slaughter rule that could, every 6 you roll to hit, you got to attack again. For every 6 you generated more attacks, and it never said you could stop. So basically, you could wipe out an entire. If you could wipe out most things, or you could kill a demon prince easily. And let's see here, what we got here. And also let's kind of go into stratagems and what we can do with these stratagems. And it's just like, I know this is like a unit analysis, but we can use these stratagems and warlord traits to kind of, okay, let's make things a little better for us. All right, the stratagem for True Grit. Now, you have to know, all of these stratagems are situational. So all stratagems have to be situational if you're going to use them. It's for basically use it for the right opportunity. True Grit. Your bolt guns, bolt carbines, and bolt rifles are pistol 2 in close combat. Meaning that during your... Alright, so say I'm charged... So basically, I'm the Space Wolf player. My opponent is the enemy. If to basically have a potential effect is that okay, I'm going to shoot you, I'll charge you, then I will hit you in close combat. I can't shoot you with my pistols, but it means something else. But it means something else. Okay, uh, my opponent charges me. My wolf, I get off my, I get off my Overwatch. He then fights. We both fight in close combat. Then it's my turn. I can use my True Grit ability. I can use my True Grit stratagem. I can shoot him in close combat. So basically, in both our turn, so basically in his turn or in my turn, I can. So basically in my turn, I can still shoot him. Like when I'm charging, I can shoot him. I can fight him. Or in his turn, he can shoot me, fight me. I can then my turn comes again. I can shoot him, and then I can shoot him in close combat, and I can fight him in close combat. It's a very good way of it's a kind of a defensive ability for getting into close combat and shooting. Cunning of the Wolf. Now I've talked about this. I talked about this in a previous video. Cunning of the Wolf is one command point. Select a unit during deployment, and since this is the deployment phase, you can use it as many times as you want. Outflanking units. You can do a lot with that, especially for Space Wolves. Back in 7th edition, my primary force was the Death Wolves because I could outflank the army. And it was magnificent. I loved it. And so what this can do is, like I've said this one before, this type of technique before. Have a unit of Wulfen, outflank them, and then have a unit of Skyclaws drop down, and within 12 inches of the Wulfen, they get to re-roll their charge ability. They get to re-roll their charges, which is great again when trying to cripple an opponent. And you can do this for a lot. I mean, you can do it for aggressor. Like if you want, you can do it for aggressors because Space Wolves we get a lot of the Primaris Marines. You can do it for aggressors. You can do it for a Bloodclaw pack. You can even do it for a unit of. You can even do it for a what are they called? A unit of. Well, you can. Well, actually, it's infantry based. You can only use it on infantry units. Long Fangs. You can use it for Long Fangs. Have an entire squad of Long Fangs with missile launchers or plasma cannons. Anything that can do multiple hits, really. Or you can do it to like get behind a character and then shoot the character to death. It's an amazing technique. And this is not like, okay, because of this, you don't have to like, okay, I'm gonna place it's not like left table edge, right table edge. You can even go in the back of your opponent's. You can even get into your opponent's back field, which is great. Sorry, it sounded a bit like Tony the Tiger right there. But I like with the new stratagems and the warlord traits. Saga of the Warriorborn is an amazing warlord trait. Reroll, basically you can. That's not a reroll. Sorry. Basically, what you can do is you can have your warlord attack first, which is efficient. You can have You can have your rune priest strike first with their runic axe, or you can have your guys strike with the Krakenbone sword. And the Krakenbone sword is an amazing thing. I like it. I really like it. Because the Krakenbone sword is a strength +1, AP -4, 1 damage, and it can reroll failed wound rolls. So I would give that to like a Wolf Lord because you can reroll failed wound, because you can reroll failed You can reroll failed hits and failed wounds. Actually, and I just like what's become of the Space Wolves, and I like what is changing about them. A lot of their character is still there. It's just that we're not the overly powerful army that people have been kind of hating about us. And I wonder what could be happening with our codex in the writing rooms of GW, and you kind of wonder what else are we going to get, or how are they going to kind of give us something. I prefer they give us like a stratagem where we can roll like 3d6 for a charge, although that would be kind of a bit ridiculous because we already have things that can have us re-roll our charge ranges. Like Fenrisian wolves can re-roll their charges. We can do practically a lot. Have Swift Claws come in. Not you, so Swift Claws can't outflank, but have them run up the table and get within range of a unit of Wulfen, and they can re-roll charges. And then later on, they get an extra attack when they get an extra attack. But so far, I'm glad I had this talk because this has really kind of been on my mind for a lot lately. But I hope you all have enjoyed this. I'm sorry about the stuttering. It's just me being me. I have a lot on my head when it comes to stuff like this. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you all have an amazing time, and really think about what you come up with a list. It's all about how effective this can be. So enjoy.